today we are making an all-natural shampoo bar. The recipe is in the description below. I am measuring out my water. And I am measuring out my lye. Oops, put that in the wrong bucket. Okay. Then I'm measuring out my lye. Now make sure you stir as you're pouring in your lye. Now you can measure your lye separately. I've just done this so many times that I know what I'm doing now. But measure your lye separately if you're concerned about putting too much in. Stand back because the fumes are strong. You could do this outside if you would prefer, but just know that the fumes are very strong, so make sure you stand back. Now, you want to be stirring as you're pouring in your lye. If you don't stir and your lye gets stuck on the bottom, don't panic. Just keep stirring until it dissolves, and it will eventually dissolve. This is extremely hot, so be careful. Next, we're going to measure our oils. We have our grapeseed oil. We have our olive oil. Then we have our coconut oil. Now, coconut oil is really hard. So what I do is in the summer, I set my coconut oil outside in the sun, like on cement that absorbs the heat. That helps soften it up. Or on something black that helps absorb the heat, or just set it in the sun is fine. And then it softens it up so that you can get it out of the container easier. In the winter, I have floor vents for my heater, so I will set it on a floor vent for the heater the day before I'm going to make soap, and then it will be softened up. You can also just get a big pan of hot water and put your coconut oil in that, and that will soften it up also. All right, now we are doing the heat transfer method. So I'm not going to let my lye cool down, and I'm not going to heat up my oils. What I'm going to do is just directly pour my lye straight into my oils, and the lye water is hot enough that it will dissolve my oils and get everything about 90 degrees. Okay, now rinse out your lye bucket right away so the family doesn't accidentally get lye on them. Now we're just going to stir this until our coconut oil is dissolved. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and zap this with my stick blender just to get it broken up a little bit more. Okay, now I got them all broken up, and I am going to go ahead and stick blend this. I am at 113, so that's a little hot for me to add my goat milk after I'm done. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this to trace and then let it cool down before I put in my goat milk, because I don't want my goat milk to burn. Okay. Now, can you see how when I lift up and let it drop back in there, it leaves, you can still see the holes where it dropped in? That's called trace. So this would be a medium trace. A thick trace is when it's really, really thick and you can still stir it, but it's really thick, and a light trace is where it's still really watery. This is a good medium trace. Now, what I'm gonna do, this is still 116, so that's just a little too hot for my goat milk, so I'm gonna have to let this cool down for just a little bit. All right. While that's cooling down, I'm going to take my goat milk. I just use powdered goat's milk, nothing fancy. And I use the powdered because I don't really have the freezer space to keep regular goat's milk. It works just as fine, I think. Has the same properties. So you just want to dissolve your goat milk in some water. All right, we are still at 115. Okay, I put my soap in an ice bath just to get it to cool down quicker. You can just wait 15 to 20 minutes if you want. You want your temperature to be about 90 to 95 degrees, minus 95. What happens is goat milk will volcano, that means start exploding up out of the mold, if you aren't soaping at a low enough temperature. So that's why you want to make sure when you make goat milk that your goat milk soap that your temperature is low enough. All right, I think I got all my goat milk really mixed in there well. Now we are going to pour it in our molds. Now, if you notice the top of your soap to kind of start rising up while it's in the mold, watch it the first couple of hours. Just pop it in the fridge or the freezer for just an hour or two, and that will stop it from getting too hot and boiling over in your mold. But that's why it boils over, because of the goat milk. It heats up the soap and causes it to get too hot and then start volcanoing in your mold. So just watch it. I've only actually had that happen once, which is kind of surprising for as many bars of soap as I've made. But it's pretty cool when it happens because you can see the reaction happening. Okay, we're gonna let this sit for 24 hours, 1 or 2 hours in the fridge or freezer if we need to cool it down, and then we're going to come back and cut our goat milk shampoo bars. All right, as I'm cleaning up, just wanted to give you a couple of tips. I just use paper towels to get the majority of my soap mess gone. That way it doesn't take quite so much soap and hot water to get it clean. You can just use soap. I use a good grease cutting soap like Dawn here in the United States. Other countries may have different names, but we use Dawn. It's a grease cutting soap. Yes, you can use your kitchen utensils and buckets and bowls. It's just soap. So once it sets up, it's already soap, and you don't even need soap to wash it. So that's the beauty of soap. All right, you can see this one had soda ash. I forgot to spray my rubbing alcohol on it, and so the soda ash developed. Also, I had a hard time getting it out of my mold, and so it caused a little bit of breakage. So what I did was I threw it in the freezer, and then it just popped right out of my mold. Oh, doesn't that look beautiful? Absolutely loving it. All right, these broken pieces we'll either sell as misfits or use them ourselves. I have a couple other batches made, so I won't be out anything. Now this right here is where the goat milk burned just slightly, so that's why you want to make sure that your temperature is low before you add the goat milk. All right, you guys can get my How to Make Soap for Beginners e-course in the description below. This right here is called gelling. It's where the inside did not get as hot as, it's where the inside got hotter than the outside. It just happens sometimes. Sometimes it'll come out of it after it sits for a while, and sometimes it's just a pretty pattern. It just depends. So please check out our How to Make Soap for Beginners e-course, livingonadime.com. It's in the description below. You can buy our soaps at goatmilkgifts.com. The link is in the description below.